My name is Dave Abbott. I'm the Director of Stewardship for the United Methodist Foundation of New England. One of my other jobs is also working with our grants ministry program. And I want to thank you all for coming today. Today's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. If you were here last month, we did sort of an overview of the grants ministry program, and I had some recordings. You'll recognize Judy if you were here, because she was one of the folks who did some sharing. But what we thought it would be more interesting would be to bring in some of these folks who've applied and just to have a conversation. So it's sort of going to be a roundtable. I've got some questions that we're going to ask them to share with us. And then we'll open it up for conversation, and we'll go up until 1:30. If things finish early, then that's great. But again, the focus for us today is to hear how these two programs, these two faith communities, went through the process of considering their why, finding a program that fit, and then applying for a grant to support that program. If you are looking, if this is your first time, I invite you to go to our website. And when you go to our website, go to all previous webinars, all past webinars. And there you will find webinars on grants ministry, on year-round stewardship, on planned giving, on all of those different things. I want to welcome Roxy Pinn, who is our, what's the official title, Roxy?
Donor Relations Coordinator.
There we go, Donor Relations Coordinator.
Sorry.
And if you're coming in late, she's also a brand new grandmother today. So we're celebrating that with her. Yes. So let's begin with prayer, if we will, and then I'll invite folks to introduce themselves. Will you join me? Amazing God, on this day of transitions, of winter to spring, of new life and new hope, of snow melting and grass growing, we come here to be about your work. We pray that through the conversations that we have today, there may be new beginnings for others, new ministries coming to life, new partnerships between the foundation and faith communities, new opportunities to share your love and grace with the people in our communities and beyond. Bless this time together, Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So the two folks I want to introduce to you today are Juhi Lee. She is the pastor at Haven United Methodist Church down in East Providence, and also Angela Rotherham, who is the pastor at Wayne Community Church. And what I'm going to do is invite them to each share a little bit about their program, and then we'll go back into the details to find out how they did, how they walked through the process. And again, as you're interested, if you've got questions, feel free to raise a hand, speak up, those type of things. I have everyone right now on the screen, so if I see a hand go up or use your Zoom hand to go up, we'll make sure we can get to you. So let's start. Juhi, if you would tell us a little bit about your program.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to share part of my ministry at Haven, located in East Providence. One important ministry at Haven is music ministry. This music ministry consists of two main components. We offer free music lessons with free rental instruments to underprivileged students in our community who cannot access music lessons because of their financial situation. And secondly, we offer the regular spring and Christmas benefit concert at our church, and another healing concert in the summer season at nursing homes, senior centers, and individual shelters homes to bring comfort and solace to those in need. When I was appointed to the church seems to lose its connection with the community. So I hope this ministry could be a bridge between the community and the church. So I established a free music school in 2020 and started to share my small musical gift with the students. it has evolved into the community music project in 2021 with the goal of the spreading God's love through music education. This ministry is guided by core values such as upholding the dignity of the underprivileged students, promoting multicultural and multiracial equity, regardless of backgrounds and age, and empowering the community to transform East Providence and its neighboring areas. While the pre-music school was evolving from 0 students to the 37 students and 11 volunteer teachers, God of Sustainer guided me to connect with the Johnson String Musical Instrument Company and Brown University Orchestra and local churches support, individual contributions, and especially UN Foundation grants, which was the seed money at the beginning of the ministry. And we could buy the new equipment for the music school. So for your information, I received 2 grants, a rapid grant in 2020 to establish the Haven Free Music School, and an annual grant in 2021 to hold a special event for the marginalized elders in our community. After investing more efforts to build a partnership within our community, the owner of the local pizza restaurant provides free weekly lunches for our volunteers, and a tap dance studio company joins our benefit concert freely. And additionally, I met a leader of the neighborhood coalition and shared some vision with her. And as a result, she actively now promotes our ministry to the community people. I led the community music project with volunteer teachers, and we hosted 14 visiting healing concerts at the nursing home and the healthcare center, and 9 benefit concerts to support Ukraine refugees, a local neighborhood coalition, a homeless ministry, and Guatemalans who need a cataract surgery so far. So this May 7th, we will have another benefit concert to support those affected by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. So I'm so thankful to share that through the hard work of the church members, volunteers, and music school students, and local business in our community, we have seen fruitful progress, and it is a blessing for the support and collaboration of everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Angela.
Hi. So in just before COVID hit in 2019, I started a program called Creating a Culture of Renewal for my continuing education. And part of that process was to develop, with the leadership of the church, to develop a vision for where we saw God leading the congregation into new areas, into taking risks and trying something new. And so through that process, we developed a vision, building bridges of healing and hope. And part of that was related to what we saw Jesus's ministry throughout scriptures about that really emphasized making human connections with people who were often marginalized. So unexpected groups of people, whether it were Samaritans or lepers or whoever it was, they were people who were marginalized, and Jesus reached out and made connections. So we wanted to do the same but we are a very small church in a rural area of Maine, and didn't really have the people power or huge budget to recreate the wheel. And so instead of trying to do something totally new, we decided that building bridges also meant reaching out to other community organizations who were doing godly work, even if they didn't call it that. And right across the street from our church is our local library. So if you remember, starting really during the pandemic, racial disparities really started to come to light, and racial tensions were on the rise. But Maine is the second whitest state in the country. So a lot of the folks in our neighborhoods didn't really understand why things were coming to a head now, why those tensions were on the rise. And so this was a growing area of concern in our community because there was a lot of misunderstanding and not knowing what really was happening. So in 2021, we decided to partner with the library and created a program called Community Conversations. And the first year in 2021, we focused on, we called it Community Conversations on Race. At that time, we didn't realize that this was going to become an ongoing program. So that first year, we applied for a grant to help us make free books available to the public, to whoever wanted to participate. We wanted the program to be multi-generational. And so we used my connections with an author that I knew of children's books and an illustrator, Anne Sibley O'Brien, and we purchased autographed copies of her book, New Here, for our children. We gave it to the kids who were part of our COVID Sunday school program, and we also gave them away at the library to any kids who came into the library. Then we had a book we used called Stamped that's really focused on middle and high school student age groups, but it was also very accessible to our adults, to some new information and new ways of looking at history, or new pieces of history that we didn't know. Then we looked at Waking Up White, since we are a predominantly white area. The author of that book lives in both Maine and Massachusetts, and so it was somebody who folks in our area could relate to. And then we read Call Me American by Abdi Nor Iftin, who is a new Mainer, and talked about his experience in coming to Maine as an immigrant. We had both, it was a summer program, so we had both outdoor and Zoom discussions. The library had a tent, so they were able to have outdoor discussions, and the church had the Zoom facilities. So we ran the Zoom conversations from the church. We had a Meet the Author event at the church. Abdi Nor Iftin came to the church and talked about his book and his personal experiences. We had evaluations after every event, so that we could gather from folks what was comfortable, what was uncomfortable, what did they like, what did they, how could we improve? We kept track of the number of participants, their gender, their age group, and their ethnicity, so that we could see who was responding and who was participating. And then at the end, after the Meet the Author event, we asked them if they wanted to do the program again and what topics they might like to talk about. And that was how we found our 2022 topic. We applied again for a grant from the foundation to again provide some free books, but also to help us pay for the Meet the Author event. So each year our request went down a little bit as the community really saw the benefit of the project, and people pitched in, started pitching in. So the second year we did community conversations on immigration. We again chose multi-generational books. We held an event for families to come and talk about the children's book and do a craft together. That didn't work, but what did work was we, when people didn't show up to the event, we pivoted and took the craft and made it a take and go craft. So when kids would come to the library at any time that was convenient for their families, they received a craft and could take it home and then and have those conversations at home and do something that that kind of solidified the new learnings. We already have planned for 2023, our community conversation on gender identity was the subject that our folks chose. And because the community is responding so well to the program, the library has said that they will contribute. They already have a budget for Meet the Authors kind of events, so they're going to totally pay for that. We are going to encourage more borrowing and lending, since that is the mission of our local libraries. And so we wanted to help folks find out how to do interlibrary loans and things like that through our library, so they get to see the full range of everything that the library has to offer. And at our church, we just completed a $31,000 audiovisual project, which will enable us to live stream and really do high quality presentations in the church and make them widely accessible. So we have volunteers in our church. We have one of our volunteers actually works for Planned Parenthood, and so she's volunteered to come and lead part of the conversation on gender identity. And so folks are really seeing the benefit of the conversations. It's been very respectful. It's fostering community conversation when at a time when it feels like the rest of the world is just arguing all the time and full of opinions, and nobody's actually trying to look at it from anyone else's perspective. So it's been a real community building experience, and it's become self-sustaining because of the funds that the foundation made available to us, and the value that the community saw in this partnership.
Thank you both for sharing. A couple of things, if you're watching us for the very first time, that we talk about is knowing the why of your faith community. And both Juhi and Angela shared part of the exploration. They shared the coming to an understanding, and then how does that get supported? How do we support the why? And then finding a program that fits it. As both of them have pointed out, they happen to be in the area of social justice, and addressing not just a little need, but a reality. The second whitest state in the US, and then also our neighbors who don't have access to music. And how do we do that in a way that is respectful, that it honors them? So those are the type of things that we're considering. Maybe there's as you think about in your faith community, a community conversation wouldn't work, or there's no need for a music school. But what are some of the things that would work in your community? What are some of those dreams, those thoughts that you've had? For both of you, a quick question is, I'm trying to recall, I think either you or somebody in your church came up with the original idea. What did you use to engage others in your faith community so that you could consider what the program would look like before you applied for the grant? Was it a, y'all come now, you hear? Was it talking to a couple of particular folks and saying, here's an idea that I have? Or who were the first people that either you or that individual who came up with the program reached out to?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I have been involved in music ministry since my time in university. So that ideas have been has been a part of my life story, but they have also evolved over time. So I designed the program and recruited the music committee members at the church, and yeah, but when I presented it, the plan to the church council, they worried about the financial matters more than expected. So yeah, at that time, I have the resources from the UN Foundation. So yeah, I could start.
And were they helpful? Did that help the people who were concerned about finances to know that there was that you had partnered with the foundation to have at least the beginning, the seed money, shall we say?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's good. So one of the advantages sometimes of our grants ministry is getting a little bit of a buy-in from the congregation, but then when they see the results, then there's a lot more openness. Angela?
Yeah, so the idea actually was held by my co-lay leader at the time, Sue, and she came to me with the idea to have, because she was concerned with the racial tensions in the country, and she said, how do we talk about this with each other? And it was my suggestion that we take it back to our mission and outreach team and that we go to the library, because the library already had active book discussion groups, and I knew from neighbors some of the books that they were reading, and so then when we very quickly got buy-in from our mission and outreach team. They loved the idea, and then when we went to the librarian, she was able to bring in folks from her support network. So we had people from really equally from both organizations. The beauty of the grant gave us the flexibility to make it bigger, to really make it what I'm going to go back to my CCR thing because I was in the midst of that. But Rebecca Simon Peter, who leads that, she calls these Jesus-sized dreams. And instead of making it a one-time, we all read a book and talk about it, the grant made it a full program. We were able to dream, okay, if we had no financial worries, what would we want to do? And then we took that big Jesus-sized dream to the foundation, and they said, here's how we can help. The church had already said, here's what we have. We're not putting any dollars into it, but here's what we have for resources. And then the library said, here's what we have to contribute. And so the foundation gift is what made it possible for us to do all the things. And then because we were able to make it its full, beautiful self the first time around, people saw and felt the value and wanted to contribute, on down the line to make it self-sustaining.
Mm-hmm. What I like from in the two stories is one started with clergy and one started with a layperson who felt empowered to ask the questions. And I appreciate the idea that doing the Jesus-sized dreams and what does that look like? We can talk about a feeding ministry in which we can provide food for people for a while, but what would be a Jesus-sized dream in some of our food deserts, where there are people with challenges and those type of things that are happening that way. So how did you find out about the foundation's grants program? And then what was that experience like?
When I shared my vision and plan with my friend and senior pastor in Massachusetts, and she introduced me this program. And I also, the more detailed information I got from the website, UN Foundation website, and the email to David, Dr. David, to seek his value input and guidance in completing the required document.
Yeah, I have long valued a relationship with the foundation in many areas of my ministry, and even my personal life. You know, I've gone to foundation workshops on clergy taxes and all kinds of different things. And so I knew that there were grants available, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what they were targeted for or anything until I went to the website and looked up the detailed information, and then was able to say, okay, well, this grant is better suited for the project that we have in mind. And so, and the four of us, 2 from the church and 2 from the library, we actually completed the application together, and we completed the evaluations together as well.
So you both have community partners, is that correct? How has that grown? I mean, Angela, you just mentioned that they were right there from the beginning. Juhi, I haven't had given you a chance yet to talk about, you mentioned them in passing, but Brown University and a couple of music places. How was it to reach out and find people in the community who were interested? How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, I used the website of the Facebook page and tried to find the resources through their university website, and also each university had a special groups, and I just personally contacted them. And also I sent the official letters to the all department relate to the music, but I couldn't receive any response from them. But when I contacted them personally through the Facebook page or messengers, so I got some message and contact.
And it sounds like both of you found people who wanted to be involved, who wanted to partner, not just be involved, but who wanted to partner with you, or you to partner with them. And together you created something bigger than what you had originally thought about. Fantastic. Before we go further, do folks have any questions at this point? We've heard about the program. We've heard about how they've connected it to their why, how they developed the program, the partnerships. Do you have questions for either Angela or Juhi or me pertaining to the grant ministry? Cool. All right. Oh, yes. John, go ahead, unmute yourself. And
yeah, hi, I'm John Gorton from Sheldon United Methodist Church up in Sheldon, Vermont, our food shelf. And we actually got a 2019 grant from the UMF Foundation to do community dinners. Unfortunately, that kicked off just as the pandemic came in. So our community dinners, which were originally envisioned to be an opportunity for people to come and sit down, turned into, we really had to do it drive-through, and we really have just gotten restarted with the community dinner idea. But Angela, I was just curious how big, because I love your idea of, and we not right across the street, but the library is not very far from us, and we already have a connection with the library in terms of they do a cooking class. A couple of library people do a cooking class in our food shelf building. But like, how big is your community, and what kind of attendance were you getting at these events?
Sure. So Wayne is it's a vacation area. And so in the wintertime, we have about 1,200 people in our town, but in the summertime, it more than doubles. So that's why we chose the summertime for the program. We wanted as many people to be able to participate as possible. That's the size. Oh, sorry. The other question was, oh, how many people participated? We had anywhere from 30 to 50 people at each book discussion. And that's both in person and online. So doing the hybrid, I mean, kind of hybrid style, the people who were in person talk to the people who are in person, the people who are online talk to the people who are online. But we had a really good turnout. And then for the Meet the Author event, that was like I think we had, I think that first one, we had 50 or 60 people in the church. And that was a big deal because it was 21. So we were still a little nervous. No, I thought it was very well attended. The other piece that I will tell you is that the majority of the folks who participated were not church folks, which was interesting.
Yeah. Now that you say that, yeah, I graduated from Coney, so yeah.
Oh,
So
sure.
when you said Wayne, okay, now I know where you're talking.
Yeah.
I've been through
Yeah.
that many
We
times.
got all those beautiful lakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's cool. The connections that we make across the state lines.
But yeah, that is fascinating that, to have that many people respond.
And more people borrowed the books and didn't necessarily participate in the discussions.
Yeah, so your outreach was really even bigger than just.
Right. The books we gave away, we tried to get a commitment from people. If they took a free book, we tried to, we asked them to commit to coming to a conversation, and most of them did, but many more borrowed books and didn't come to the conversation.
Borrowed in return so that others could use, type of thing. That's what you mean by.
Well, she got the librarian got multiple copies through the interlibrary loan and made these available to just borrow. So
fantastic. Fantastic. Roberta, Bobby.
Correct me if I misheard, but it sounded like when you were in the process of applying for the grant, you contacted David for help in completing the forms. Is that a standard thing that we should do if we're wanting to apply for one?
Actually, when I have done for the filling out the old question and answers, but my budget line item was not correct. That comparing what they've asked for, so I revised it, by his advice.
Because I had wondered about that we're in the process of working on the forms for a new ministry at our church, and we're kind of struggling with some of those questions.
So I would say, give me a call. We can set up a time. It could be a phone call with just you, or it could be a phone call with your group. I always, on behalf of the foundation, as long as the application, like for instance, we have our annual grants, the applications are due on May 15th. So if I have them a week or two in advance, I'm more than happy to scan them. I don't look for edits and things of that sort, but if there are questions that come up, I'll send them back to you and say, can you answer this? I've gotten to know the Foundation Grants Committee and what they're looking for. The new format of the new documents that we've put together up on the website. It's our first year, so we may end up, editing them a little bit, but they are they're there so that to try to be a little more detailed as to what exactly we're looking for. But yeah, sure. Give me a call, bounce an idea. I've had more than one person come up to me and go, I got this idea. And I've never used the word a Jesus-sized dream, but I say, well, what if it was bigger? What if you could do more? What would you like to do? And how do you expand that as a possibility? So give me a yell. Roxy, you are.
Yeah, I just want to kind of tag along there because I've done an awful lot of grant writing within the development world, and in general, it's a good idea to reach out to funders and just say, you know, we're thinking about doing this. This is the project. Does this fit into your guidelines? And you know, if not, recommendations. If we're not, you know, I mean, sometimes it's just not the right project for that organization, but most funders really are you know, eager to work with people and answer those kind of questions. So whether you're applying to us or elsewhere, I would definitely encourage you to talk with the funders and make sure that what you're thinking of is what, you know, they're also thinking of.
Okay, well, I thank you, because I was reluctant to do that because I was concerned about putting my friends into a conflict of interest situation. But I assume that if you were, you'd tell me.
Yep. And in both of us, you know, we'd be glad to help. And the other thing is you have 3 people on this call who have made application, and they could share their information. We got John, we've got Juhi, we've got Angela, so they could share their own personal experiences about what that looked like for them and what they found to be beneficial, and those times when they felt David just kept talking and talking and talking and didn't stop. So the foundation wants to give this money away. We have roughly $50,000 to $60,000 anyway a year, and we want programs that are vital, that are transforming, that are impactful. If you go on our website, you'll see we have a few different types of grants, but we really want to make a difference. We want to partner with you as you strive to do God's work in your part of the kingdom as it fits. I mean, we've got inner city and we've got rural, a couple of rurals, and I call it inner city, Juhi, because of the neighborhoods in which you're serving. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to make help. We want to help you live out God's vision. That's where we're at. So, Harvey, did I see your hand up a few minutes ago?
Yep.
Perfect.
Just curious, when you look back at what you've done so far in these 2 programs, can you see an increase in conversation about Jesus Christ, about faith? You mentioned that Angela, in your book conversations, that you had a large number of people that generally were not churched signing on. In the process of having those conversations, or Julie, in the process of learning that music and participating in those concerts, did you find ways that people began to open up and seek a faith connection?
Yeah, that's the tension between the God's mission and Christ's mission. So I always feel, I found that there is some limitation only operating the program, but I always invite my students to the church, and when we have some celebrate the big events at during our worship, so I just try to invite them to join our worship, and also they are very pleasingly join us and celebrate the worship together. So our role is only invitation, but I believe God will move their hearts. So I have a lot of expectation for that.
Yeah, so for us, we purposefully were not trying to increase the number of butts in the pews. What we're trying to do through all of our ministries with this vision of building bridges of healing and hope is to remind the community that we are relevant, that we're here, that we care about the things that they care about. And through the accumulation of other ministries and other connections and partnerships that we're building in the community, it has led to new memberships. One of the most fun things that I really get a kick out of is our community conversation revamped an old tradition in our town of a men's breakfast. And once a week, a group of men in our town all gather at the cafe, and they sit down over a cup of coffee, and they're talking politics, and they're talking religion, and they don't all agree, and they're building friendships. And we had 5 men join the church because of the relationships and the outreach that a couple of men who were going to those breakfasts were making, and said, you know, the church is a place where we can have these conversations too. So so that was not we specifically said that is not our goal, that's not where we're going. But we trusted that God would take it and make it God's.
And that's basically why I framed the question as increasing the frequency and intensity of faith conversation, as opposed to butts in the pew.
Yeah, and it didn't start out as faith conversation. We didn't, you know, in the community conversation on race, we didn't talk about that. But the very fact that we had the conversation in the sanctuary is powerful. The very fact we had, when we did the one on immigration, we had a panel of New Mainers from the Capital Area New Mainers Project come and share their experience of what it's like to move to Maine, whether an asylum seeker, or if you're an immigrant under a refugee status, or if you're coming under another status. And just the fact that we have those conversations in the sanctuary, it has a powerful symbolic, effect on people. Yeah. Thanks, Harvey.
Thank you.
Yeah, silent evangelism. And I think what I'm hearing from both of you is that you believe the project was ordained by God, but you were going to let God do God's work and not try to just look at the numbers. And I think that as we talk about this and other projects, that being the focus of being if I use the expression, the living presence of Christ, without having to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ, but simply by how we live it out. The symbolism, the involvement, the invitation, that seeing the church as more than Sunday morning, and a place where people can disagree and have good conversation. That's wonderful. Yeah, super. I see John's finger, the correct finger.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that, Angela. Well, both of you, Angela, because we saw the same thing when we think about our food shelf ministry. And way back when we started, maybe 20 years ago, some people were saying, oh, well, this will be a way to get people, come and sit in church. And we've had a few, but it hasn't really been that. But it's more about making people feel safe and making people feel cared about, and making people feel comfortable with, and friends, making people feel like you're a friend. I like to think that we have about 20 volunteers, and there's no requirement. A lot of our volunteers themselves aren't churchgoers. Some of them exhibit some tremendous Christian qualities, but they don't necessarily go sit in church every Sunday. But yeah, making the people who come to us to get food think of us as friends, and be comfortable around us. And at some point in time, the rest will follow. We have had a couple of new people come into church, and hopefully there will be more. But let God do that work, and just take care of God's people.
Amen. Amen. There's something about loving neighbors, and there's that other thing. Yeah, feeding the hungry. Yeah, and giving voice, to those who have been silenced, or giving music to those who have been silenced. And I also think of Paul, who said that some will plant, some will nourish, and some will harvest. And so that's really cool. I want to take a couple minutes and ask you how you decided, both of you decided, on how you were going to measure success and it's in your programs, what would it look like? Angela, I'll turn to you first because you mentioned the idea of doing surveys and counting things. So I'll start with you and then I'll go to Juhi as to how did you determine how you were going to measure and then how did you use them?
So we had, like I said, we had evaluations that we created for after each event. And it was also to give us kind of a sense of how things were going if we needed to pivot in the middle of the programs. And we did track numbers. I mean, the first year it was brand new, so anything over 0 was success. Woo! But we also wanted it to be multi-generational, so we kept track of age groups and participation that way. The second year, we were obviously hoping for an increase in the number of people who came to the events. That didn't happen. It was about the same, but what did increase were our partnerships and people who are helping us out, the increase in volunteers. And then I think the real success came when we were able to say at the end of the second year, do you want, we can't get another grant. So if you want more, we're going to have to find a way to make it possible. And people started coming out of the woodwork, not writing checks, but this is how I can help. And the library board said, oh, don't you worry about it. We've already got this budget. We'll pay for this stuff. And the church saying, well, you can have our building whenever you want it, kind of thing. And that kind of stuff. So, and we're making the investment in this AV system to make it available to the greater community anyway. So it fit their vision for that too. So I think that was success.
Yeah. Juhi, how did you?
My ministry focused on the building a loving community and the sharing God's love through music as a God's mission to the world. So you have heard about the some quote by Bonhoeffer, like the person who loves their dream of community will destroy the community, but the person who loves those around them will create community. So yeah, so initially, so I was able to manage the music school on my own due to its small enrollment, but as the school grew, I realized that I needed to collaborate with others and seek external some resources. So by recruiting more individuals to join the project, and I was able to create a collaborative loving community project that extended beyond my church project. So I also discovered that when people found meaning in a project, they were more willing to donate their time and resources. So it is crucial for the churches to provide meaningful services but offer a vision and sense of the purpose to its members. Yeah, so I believe that the impact of my ministry can be measured by the growth, the quality, and the growth of the community. Yeah.
What I love about both of the projects is that you two have been speaking about, and John, I don't know, but is the idea of it's not about the church alone. It is the church in partnership. And there's, at least when I was growing up, if a church wanted to do a project, they did it on their own. And, we do this or we do that. And actually, John, now I'm recalling that you, all three of you have said, yeah, we're part of it, but it's not just us. And that some of your success has been measured by the number of partners that you have, the volunteers that you have. John, you referenced people who have no church connection, but they feel that link. and they want to be a part of the program. So I think that's important when we're thinking about it, when you're trying to envision what your program is going to look like, that you're going to be applying for the grant. That leads into how is it going to be sustainable? As Angela mentioned, we can give out 2 grants, 1 grant each year to an organization, preferably not for the same project, but something different. Like with the community conversations, it was 2 different conversations. There were different things that were being involved. With Juhi's grants, it was the school, and then it was the music ministry. And then there's a third, you take the third year off. It's sort of jubilee of sorts, and then you can come back and apply again. So how do you, one of the things we're looking for is how are you going to sustain? What are you going to do that will help this project to sustain itself? Sometimes it's the finances, sometimes it's the volunteers, but if you can show us that makes a wonderful difference. Or we're starting something new, as Angela mentioned. There wasn't a real thought that it was going to go a second year when you applied, but it did go on. And, you know, as Juhi mentioned, the school started small, so it was pretty cool, but now it's 37 students, 11 volunteers from Brown University. Holy cow. So we're going to keep going on. So that's something that's important as you're looking at your grant. What is this going to do? How are we going to do this? I would also mention at this time, we've got just a few moments left, that this year we've opened up a multi-year grant. There's different specifics, different requirements, different expectations. You can find it on the website, on the grants ministry page. And the goals are some of exactly what Angela and Juhi have talked about, which is developing partnerships, getting longer term. The multi-year grants probably are going to be 3-year grants, up to $10,000 a year. And the goal is to develop deep, healthy roots in a program so that it can go forward. Again, if you've got questions about that, it's on the website, but I also have be more than willing to talk about it with folks. We have a question. Angela, I don't know if you see that there. If you want to answer that question.
Yeah, we had, what we did was there were books that were targeted toward an age group. So the discussion was for that book. So sometimes we had parents there, but usually it was, especially with the conversation on race, the children's book was really sent home with children. The stamped book, we did have young folks and adults together. The Waking Up White was targeted toward adults. And then the Call Me American, we had everybody. We had a wide range of age groups at the Meet the Author event.
Yeah. So other, in the closing moments, and questions, comments that y'all would ask of the foundation, that you would ask of Angela or Juhi, and I'm not going to put John on the spot, but I'm sure he would answer too if needed, since he's been through this process before. Anything y'all would like to ask?
I have a question for who was it? Was it Juhi? You were the ones that had, did you say $31,000 for equipment? Oh, that okay.
Oh, that's
I just
Angela.
remember that number and I'm like, 31,000 for really? Wow. And how did you fund that?
That's a whole other conversation. But we were talking about this vision, and we had what we called cottage conversations for our stewardship. We're doing this year-round stewardship thing that the foundation encourages. And awesome. So we shared with folks the current needs of the church. I had a little handout, that's why I'm going through it. And then we had some extra mile giving opportunities. And then we had our dreams, and on the dreams was this AV project. And one family I'll be honest, it was one family got so enamored with the dream, they funded almost the whole project. The foundation helped us with meeting some immediate needs of paying our carpenter while over the year change, while the family said, you know, we can give you out of our IRA, our charitable IRA, we can do that this year, this amount this year, and we'll do this amount next year. And the foundation helped us kind of bridge that. But it's all about that vision and sharing it and just being completely open with people. But, and like Juhi said, it's personal. Like you've got to have those personal asks, the personal connections. It can't be a letter, you know, it's gotta be personal, because that's how you connect with people.
Oh, wait a minute.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's church development. That's church growth, developing healthy relationships.
And I learned it from the foundation.
And we've learned a lot from you guys as well. I mean, we do have a lot of folks. Sharon was asking if we have people who can help churches with visioning process. We can do at least some initial conversations, but we have people who have done that. And there are other churches and places around that can also say, you know, this is what we did. So yeah. And then there was one other question. Let's see, Angela, Sue Frost, did you do anything particular to make sure that people felt safe talking when they're in their conversations?
Yeah, we had facilitators, trained facilitators at each conversation. So we would set ground rules at each conversation. I was a facilitator for the online stuff because I had more experience doing that online. And we had the retired teacher was at the library doing the in-person ones. So yeah.
Juhi, I would ask something along the same questions, because you were dealing with young people who were coming into a place that may or may not have been familiar with them. How did you create and ensure that there was that safe space, that safe place for them as they would, until they became familiar and comfortable with what was happening with the academy?
Mostly students come to the church with their parents. And also when the parents come with the children, they want to learn the music with them together. So I don't think they feel unsafe at the church because they'll always be with their parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. And that is an important thing for people who have heard a variety of different things about what church is like, that we provide that atmosphere. And again, as you've both noted, it's intergenerational, sometimes intentional by generation, but sometimes blending it all together. Let's see, any other thoughts? Angela's put some information in there about the program she talked about, creating a culture of renewal. Any other thoughts or questions that you might have for us today? John?
Well, yeah, I would just say, yeah, David, I certainly would be more than willing to talk to anybody about, you know, the vision programming or the whole business. So you have my contact information, I believe. So, you know,
Yeah,
feel free to pass it on. I do have a new vision for this year. I say our last one was 2019. We have a new vision for this year, reaching out to the school and reaching out to homeless people with a lot of partners involved. So I'll be putting my proposal together here in the next week or so.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Be glad to talk to talk to anybody. And I would be fascinated, Angela. I would really be, you know, the idea of the gender, you know, when you look at what's going on around the country, the gender identity is just so huge, especially for young people. I really would be fascinated to hear how that conversation.
I have to tell you, I've been nervous about each topic, but the people are choosing the topic. The community is choosing the topic, and they've all been really hard conversations.
Oh, yes.
My gosh.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
We have to have them. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring us to a close for today. I want to thank Juhi and Angela for coming and sharing. Tomorrow night at 7, we're going to have Natalie Hill from Wesley Foundation, and we're going to have Stan Cushing from Faith Community Church, and they're going to share some of the processes that they've used. And we would invite you to join us and or to send an invitation out to anyone. You can still register for the program, and you can find the links on the page. I want to thank you all for coming today and for sharing and for this great conversation. And I pray that somewhere inside each of you, there is a Jesus-sized dream where the seeds have been planted and the foundation is being called to be a part of making that dream come to life. God's peace and blessing be with all of you. And may the rest of the day be God's joy as we head towards Easter. Have a good day.